Stephen Lewis, Sean Kelly, and all right, it's been, 4 or 5 days removed now, so if you haven't seen it, I don't feel problems spoiling it for you, and if you've read anything on the internet, you know that the final season of Game of Thrones finale aired last Sunday night. Now, you and I were both at a Foo Fighters concert, so we didn't necessarily watch this in real time, which is probably a good thing, seeing as how the way things shaped out, but from season 1 through, I'll even give you 7, which a lot of people didn't like 7, I didn't have a problem with 7. Probably one of the most definitive TV series of all time, from a character standpoint, from a story standpoint. You had people invested in their time, and they were, to be honest, upset that it took 2 years to get to the final season. And let's just say, if you had a theory about how things went, you were probably way off and way disappointed.
Are we PG or are we PG-13?
We can be whatever you want to be on this one.
It has all the enjoyment of a wet fart in church. Because I watched it with high hopes to be like, all right, season 8 wasn't the strongest, but you'll do what you need to do in bringing all of these questions full circle. And they didn't do any of that. They basically buttoned it up real nice, kind of like they were doing it on the fly.
They left a lot of things unanswered, that's for sure. The episode before that, where she just torches the city, I actually liked. I was
okay with that.
There are a lot of people that say that that's the direction her character was going for the longest time, and you can see shades of it when she executed Sam's family.
Yeah.
Like, you could see shades of that. The way she was, I mean, you never really saw it before, though, because when she was across this continent and she was executing these slave masters, you kind of went, well, you deserved it. And the people that she executed when she locked in the tomb, they kind of deserved it. But it was when she executed Sam's family and was just kind of merciless about it that you were kind of like, ooh, there's something there. And then that played out this part. The whole scene of her destroying the city the episode before was pretty damn intense, like the way that all went. Because I don't know if you really saw that coming, per se.
I mean, I don't know. It was kind of a case where she was sitting on top of that building with the dragon, and then the bells were ringing, and of course they kept, hey, when the bells ring, that means they surrender. And they couldn't have hammered it anymore to be like, all right, I get it. She's not going to do it.
Right.
Like, whatever. So she torches the entire city, and of course she gives her speech in a very dictator sort of way, how they're going to break the wheel. And as soon as she said Winterfell, you know, you're like, oh, okay, so they're going to have to go with Winterfell, so John's going to have to kill her sooner than later.
Right, and I like that speech. Like, when he walked up, I thought Tyrion finding Jaime, and I didn't like the way Jaime or Cersei died. Like, that was my, if I had a problem with the bells, which was the episode before, did not like the way Jaime and Cersei died. Everybody wanted a better death than Cersei than to be trampled.
She deserved a better death than that.
So I didn't like that at all. But I did like the scene where Tyrion found them. And I thought that was a good scene just because of everything that he'd been through.
Right.
And I like the speech, and I like when he tears the pin off, the hand of the queen pin off, where he's like, I'm done with you, kind of thing. And I like the conversation that Jon and Tyrion had when Tyrion was a prisoner. And then you kind of thought Arya was going to do it because she was like ninja and out and sneaking up behind him and then never got that far. But my problem with it was you put Bran on the throne.
Dude, the laziest guy in the entire series. Literally, all he did was sit around. And then the way he would talk was like almost, all right, this kid's way out there. I'm the three-eyed raven. I live in the past. And then all of a sudden when they're like, you want to be king? He's like, absolutely. That sounds really cool.
I didn't travel this far for nothing.
Yeah, like all of a sudden he speaks perfect English. He's not this three-eyed raven anymore. He's just a regular guy.
And here's what I understand. There are people that like the ending that Jon Snow got because eventually what happens is Jon kills Daenerys, which you kind of saw, like Sean alluded to, you saw coming. And that was a pretty intense moment because at first you didn't know who stabbed who by the way they shot it. But at the end of it, he's in prison. You get no explanation there. And then he's sent to the Night's Watch again, which there's really no purpose for the Night's Watch anymore because there's nothing to watch.
No.
And
big a hole in the wall.
At the end of it, he just kind of rides off into the land beyond the wall and doesn't really do anything. But what I don't get, and here's what they put this council together to decide Jon's fate. Why didn't Jon just come out and go, I killed her. I'm the rightful heir to the throne. These guys have proof of my parentage, so therefore, I didn't really commit a crime. I took what's mine.
He didn't want it.
I know he didn't want it.
This guy's so emo, like, I don't know what to do.
I've kissed my aunt and I don't want to be king and I didn't want this. And oh, God, get out of the way. Here's what I really, really didn't understand. So Grey Worm talking about how he wants justice. And he's like, he killed our queen. Okay, fine. We're going to sentence him to life with the Night Watch. He's like, okay, I'm leaving now. Grey Worm gets on a ship, sailing away to a faraway island. Guess what? Didn't really need to follow through with John's sentence.
Right.
He could have just kind of hung out.
Right.
Like, it's so, as far as plots and everything that didn't play out. And here's another thing. You spent 8 seasons making the Night King like the ultimate of all evil, and all these little details of that swirly symbol that they were leaving everywhere.
That they didn't explain what was.
Never explained it. They tried to torch him with fire. Didn't burn.
happen.
So is he a Targaryen? And some people were like, oh, they're going to talk about that stuff in the prequel series they're going to do. Well, guess what? I'm done with Game of Thrones after this. Because you think I'm going to sit around and wait for another 2 or 3 years for you to explain something to me that you're supposed to allude to in the series?
I think the problem is, and I said it when we talked about one of the other episodes, this season was too rushed. You didn't flesh out enough story. If you were going to have Daenerys become the bad guy, that's fine, but you did it too quickly. And they hinted at it in the beginning, like the first couple. I wouldn't change the first couple of episodes. I actually liked the first couple of episodes. And they hinted at it in the beginning when Jon reveals his true parentage. Her first problem with it is, well, you have more of a claim to the throne than I do. And then you see her after they're celebrating the victory at Winterfell, you see where she's kind of feeling like, well, I'm the only one here that's not really loved. And you see the tension between her and Sansa. They just didn't let it play out enough to where the heel turn, to use a WWE term,
Right.
was dramatic enough. And my problem is, you made Jon Snow, you brought him back to life to be the savior of the world, but he didn't really save
Didn't do
the
anything.
world. I mean, and if you in the battle, you should have had him and the Night King at least throw down a little bit, and then you could have picked it up where everything else happens after that. But you let that anticipation built up for 4 seasons, because the first time they met, he was fighting the undead and he was standing on the dock and he was sailing away while the Night King was staring him down. So
Yeah.
like, oh, those two are going to go at it at some point in time. You go through the whole thing about the only thing that can kill the dead is Valyrian steel and dragon glass, of which you give Jon Snow both, and at no point in time is there even a remote battle between the two of them.
No, it's a staring contest at best.
Yeah.
And the Night King wins. But if you're going to have all these characters, and I think, like I said, I think they did a phenomenal job as far as how they developed these characters, but it got to a certain point where then you wasted all that development. Like we said, Cersei and Jaime, everybody knows that they deserved way better deaths than just, let's face it, a cop-out and just going, they'll be buried alive during the, fine, whatever.
Well,
Even if that was done to them, you're thinking, okay, there's other aspects of the show that you're thinking, okay, that definitely overshadowed that, so it wasn't that bad. But to me, there were so many holes in this season that you can't not point them out.
No, there's too many things that they didn't answer a lot of questions about, way too many things, and they left. I was okay with Sansa keeping the North, like whatever happened with her.
Yeah.
Like, I think after what she went through, she deserved to kind of be the one to live through everything. But it's just, when it comes to Jon and Dany and your 4 mains, even I guess you throw Tyrion in, your 5 mains, you really missed. You didn't stick the landing on any of those characters as far as how
Stick the
they
landing. You tripped all the way up the runway, fell, and
So, unfortunately, the 7 or 8 years of your life that you've invested in this show didn't quite pan out the way it planned. And I mean, it will always be remembered for some of the moments that it had.
Oh, great moments. I mean, there's been, as far as the series as a whole, I get it. It's a great series, but I mean, if it were me, I'm just like, watch the Battle of Winterfell, and to me, that was it.
Yeah.
Anything after that was just nothing.
Well, and I think you can, they paid way too much tribute to Return of the King, because it was just like,
Oh, definitely.
okay, it's over, it's not over, it's over, it's not over. So, at the end of the day, you're done. You're not going to watch the prequel series?
No, I'm not. Good Lord, no. I mean, this is already something where I'm scratching my head going, all right, they're putting the people of Game of Thrones in charge of 3 new Star Wars movies, where I'm like,
right.
If your story development is like what you did with this, then you're going to get about, 1.5 movies out, and you'll be like, Ugh.
Yeah, but I said it did set a record in viewers, like 19 point some odd million viewers watched it. I want to know the number now. How many people canceled their HBO subscription a day later after it was over?
I would love to talk to those people and be like, if you had it to do over again, would you? Probably not.
So we'll see. I bring up the fact that there's a new Terminator out there, but let's be honest, it'd be another 12-minute rant about how bad that looks.